Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, all glories to assembled Vaishnava devotees. Today, again, by Guru Krishna's grace, we've all come here together to relish SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. And today we are very, very much blessed. We have His Grace, YASODADEva PRABHU, who will be speaking to us today. YASODADEva PRABHU is my younger brother here in Gita Nagari. And as we shared with you the last time he was here, he basically does preaching to students. So it's more or less like academic preaching. But, you know, one who teaches in the university can also teach in the elementary school. It's difficult for an elementary teacher to teach in the university, but it's not difficult the other way around. So in other words, Prabhuji is quite versatile. He is able to preach to different classes of people. And of course, devotees have gathered here. He also does lots of preaching in the temple room to devotees. So YASODADEva Prabhu, in fact, he was giving this service within like a couple of hours, which he beautifully and warmly accepted. So we very much thank you for this service, Prabhuji, for accepting to speak to us today. And without further ado, I may put the rest on the screen and you take it over from here. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sadeh Prabhu. So nice to be back with the ISKCON Africa Sangha. Thanks for having me. I know Srila Prabhupada already sang Jai Radha Madhava, but I was hoping I could also do.
Yes,
I have
please.
my guitar.
Yes, you may.
Could
yes.
I?
Yes.
Just for a few minutes.
Sure, you can. Yes.
So I've been running around with kids and I need to focus on Radha and Madhava. My daughter's name is Radha. My son's name is Madhava, but they're agitating my mind. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, Chapter 5, text number 31. Ajasattu vikurvanad indriyani dasha bhavan jnana shakti kriya shaktir buddhi pranas chatai jasao shrutram tvagrana jivha vagdur medrangri payavaha. Should I do again? Okay. Taijasattu vikurvanad indriyani dasha bhavan jnana shakti kriya shaktir buddhi pranas chatai jasao shrotram tvagrana jivha vagdur medrangri payavaha. Taijasattu vikurvanad indriyani dasha bhavan jnana shakti kriya shaktir buddhi pranas chatai jasao shrotram tvagrana jivha vagdur medrangri payavaha. I guess we'll go straight to the word-for-word translation. If you like, you can follow along or just listen. Taijasat, by the passionate egoism. Same as the root word is tejas. Actually, taijasat, by passionate egoism. To, but. Vikurvanat, transformation of. Indriyani, the senses. Dasha, 10. Abhavan generated. Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, the 5 senses. A little faulty today. Buddhi, intelligence. Pranaha, the living energy. Cha, also. Aijaso, all products of the modes of passion. Shrotram, the sense for hearing. Tvak, the sense for touching. Grana, the sense for smelling. Drik, the sense for seeing. Jivaha, the sense for tasting. Vak, the sense for speaking. Doho, the sense for handling. Medra, the genitals. Angri, the legs. Payavaha, the sense for evacuating. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. This is Brahma speaking to his son Narada, describing how the universe is created. So he says, by further transformation of the mode of passion, the sense organs like the ear, skin, nose, eyes, tongue, mouth, hands, genitals, legs, and the outlet for evacuating, together with intelligence and living energy, are all generated. Purport. The living condition in material existence depends more or less on one's intelligence and powerful living energy. Intelligence to counteract the hard struggle for existence is assisted by the senses for acquiring knowledge. And living energy maintains himself by manipulating the active organs like the hands and legs. But on the whole, the struggle for existence is an exertion of the mode of passion. Therefore, all the sense organs, headed by intelligence, and the living energy, prana, are different products and byproducts of the second mode of nature called passion. The mode of passion, however, is the product of the air element, as described before. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So again, Brahma is instructing his son, Narada Muni, about how the universe is created. And he's getting into some of the juicy details about how the modes of material nature function to entangle the living entity. Because that's what we wanted. We love it. We love to be entangled. It's actually our essential nature as the soul. We are, by definition, Tatashta Shakti. Right? The Lord's spiritual energy is called Antaranga Shakti. It's the Lord's internal energy. It's his personal energy for pleasure. It's spiritual. And then the external energy, the material energy, which is like a shadow of the Lord. Eva, we're right in the middle. Tatashta. Tatashta literally means, my connection again. Hope you that way. Tatasta, it's unsteady. Just like there's a portion of the beach. A portion of the beach. It's not really in the land. It's not really in the water. Sometimes it's land, sometimes it's water. That portion of the beach can change. So similarly, us, the jiva, being tatashta, we can change between material and spiritual. But we depend on one or the other. We must depend on the description given by Brahma. We need the ear, the skin, the nose, the eyes, the tongue, the mouth, the hands, the genitals, the legs, the outlet for evacuating the intelligence, and the prana. We depend on those things. We're entangled in it, like we're holding on. Oh, my dear skin. Oh, my precious eyes. Oh, my ears, they give me such sweet sounds to hear. Oh, my tongue, I need you. We love being dependent on this body instead of being dependent on Krishna. But by nature, as a jiva, we must depend on the Lord's energy. We must be entangled in it. We must be sheltered by it. So we get to choose the shelter of Krishna, his internal spiritual energy, or the shelter of the material energy in the mode of passion. We need one or the other. We need one or the other, the material or the spiritual. So if we recognize that we must be then why not depend on Krishna? And then depending on our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and I'll answer that, must necessarily include struggle. That's what Prabhupada says in his purport. But on the whole, the struggle for existence is an exertion of the mode of passion. So, dear devotees, please raise your hand if you're struggling for existence. Feel free to raise your hand. We're in a safe space. It's okay to admit. We struggle for existence. And that's the mode of passion. Especially now, people are feeling the struggle even more as economies all over the world are becoming less equitable, less fair. So many people, even here in America, an apparently developed nation, very wealthy nation, still most people are struggling for existence. Most people are struggling just to get enough money to pay the rent next week. The cost of food going up, the cost of housing going up, cost of everything going up, and we just struggle, struggle, struggle. What is the solution to this? What's being implied here by Srila Prabhupada in this purport? The struggle for existence is the exertion of the mode of passion, and therefore we have to stop being in the mode of passion. If you're tired of struggling, then let's get out of this mode of passion. At least one should try to cultivate a lifestyle in sattva guna. But even better, to take complete shelter of Lord Krishna by hearing and chanting about his name, form, his qualities, and his pastimes, and engaging in his service by sharing love of Krishna with everyone, everywhere. Otherwise, we have to struggle. Rajaguna. The mode of passion means you must struggle, although there is pleasure. There's no doubt. When our eyes see something nice, there's some pleasure there. Pleasure for the tongue, pleasure for the skin. But when our intelligence is a little weak, we don't see that there's also struggle. Krishna says that they are like two sides of the same coin. You must have both. Sukha and dukkha in Sanskrit. Happiness and distress. They go hand in hand. An intelligent person can see, yes, I get some pleasure from this thing, but I must also get distress. Surely there's something better. But a person who doesn't have intelligence, they cannot see. And they think, no, 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 the problem is I just didn't get the right sense object. It was the wrong person. It's the wrong car. And it was the wrong job. It's the wrong place. It was the wrong time. If I just get the right person, the right car, the right place, the right time, then I'll have happiness and no distress. But that is not intelligent. An intelligent person should see there must be distress. If there is some pleasure with the senses, there must be some distress that goes with it also. If I want to enjoy something, it means that somebody else cannot have that thing. If I want some money, it means somebody else must have less money. If I want to enjoy some person, it means that they also have their own desires. Those of us who are married, we know. They're two people with different desires. Some overlapping desires, but many that are not. So there must be some distress there, as long as we are affected by the mode of passion. And dear devotees, here's something I ask you please to consider. The modes of material nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, they are active. They are trying to influence us by the arrangement of Durga Devi. Actually, these modes are trying to influence us. It's not sitting idly. The tamaguna, the rajaguna, it's not just in the next room waiting for you to open the door and let it in. Ignorance and passion, it's an active force. It's trying to get inside your head, trying to make us think, I need this, I need more, I want so much. So we have to actively fight against it. Tamaguna is not waiting. While we're sleeping, Tamaguna is working. Making plans to make us lazy, to make us forgetful, to make us inconsiderate. Tamaguna is working on us. It's active. The Rajaguna is working, oftentimes while we're working, trying to tell us you need more, 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 more. It's an active energy, and we have to actively resist its influence. We can't think, well, I've been sitting here idly. I don't see any tamagun, rajagun here. What's the problem? Seems fine right now. No, it's actively trying to affect us. Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita, that the modes of material nature, they compete for supremacy. In the modern world, we should know for sure that the modes of passion and ignorance dominate. And if we are not actively resisting, then they will affect us. It's inevitable. So how do we actively resist? At the very least, we must cultivate a lifestyle of sattva guna. That's the very least. That's like the beginning. And I'm not saying this to all you Yeah, it looks so nice.
I want to take it off.
Oh, I feel like I'm all frozen. Can you even hear?
Yashodeva Prabhu, it seems your connection is a little weak. I'm wondering if you turned off your video momentarily to see if that might boost up the connection. You are muted, Prabhuji. Okay.
I said, I'm so sorry, Prabhu. I've been having some internet trouble lately. I hope you can hear me a little better now.
Yes, it's much better now, yes.
Okay, I apologize.
It's okay.
I'm sure I was saying something really interesting. I forgot it now, so it's all right. But my point that I'd like to share with you, Prabhu, is that the modes of passion and ignorance, they're very active. They're actively working on us. They're not sitting idly by. And if we are not actively resisting the influence of the modes of passion and ignorance, then we will continue to be affected. As Prabhupada says, the struggle for existence, it's an exertion of the mode of passion. So if we're struggling, it means we have not yet cultivated at least sattva guna. This is a point I'd like to ask everyone to contemplate. If you're struggling for existence, and a few of you raised your hand when I asked if you're struggling for existence. If we're struggling for existence, it means that we have not yet cultivated at least sattva guna. Ideally, we just completely take shelter of Lord Krishna, whatever he wants, whatever he desires. Then we have no struggle. It's like a child in the arms of its mother. But at least we need to cultivate sattva guna to stop struggling. Otherwise, these senses, this body, will continue to give us turmoil and stress forever and ever and ever. And there are no conditions in material existence that are going to change that. The politics are not going to change in our favor. Social dynamics are not going to change in our favor. Only we can resist the modes of passion and ignorance and stop struggling. Particularly, as being implied in this verse here, the Rajaguna, it affects the intelligence, it affects the mind, so that we long for more and more. We have to learn how to make boundaries with the mind. Krishna says to make the mind into a friend, or it can be an enemy. How does one become a friend? When there's certain boundaries, there's certain limitations in the relationship. That's how you have a healthy relationship. If you allow a person to just walk all over you, to insult you, then they cannot be your friend. Mm-hmm. But when there's certain expectations and boundaries, then we have a very healthy relationship. Mm-hmm. Those of you who are married or have children or you have colleagues, you know that there have to be certain limitations in how that relationship can be. You have your own space, they have their restrictions. You have certain activities together which are appropriate and some things that are inappropriate, and that makes the relationship healthy. So similarly, Krishna says to make the mind a friend, you must have suitable practice, create boundary. We cannot allow the mind to just push us around and say, you need more. Look what everybody else has. You're missing out. You have to establish a boundary with your mind and say, no, you don't talk to me like that. Not in my house. Those of you who have fathers, you probably heard that from your father. You can't talk to me like that in my house. So we say that to the mind. You can't push me around. You can't force me to be envious, to be shallow, to be exploitative. No, that is not a healthy relationship. We say to our mind, I will not tolerate this sort of language. Right? We have to do this with our children, don't we? We train our children to be good people. We tell them this is appropriate and this is inappropriate. Do the same thing with the mind. That's the suitable practice that comes from abhyasa yoga or sadhana. By chanting daily at the same time at the same place, by hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, by serving, by associating with the devotees, we train the mind. This is appropriate. The enviousness, the madness, the illusion, the anger, the unlimited desire, my dear mind, that is inappropriate. You don't talk to me like that. So everyone should try it. Don't say it out loud because you'll look insane. But in the privacy of your own home, or at least internally, you say to your mind, no, don't talk to me like that. That's inappropriate. If you talk like that in a public place out loud, someone will probably call the police. So just do it like an internal thing. Say to your mind, don't talk to me like that. I'm not going to be affected by unlimited desire. I'm not going to be angry at this person. I'm not going to be envious of these people. That's not an appropriate relationship, my dear mind. And this way we can start to resist against the active Rajaguna energy. We got to push back a little bit. Not just a little bit, we got to push back a lot because Rajaguna is pushing us a lot. It's pushing the whole world. We got to know how to fight back. When Maya takes a swing at you, you just punch back. Oh yeah, Maya? So I struggled a little bit. I had some desires. I did some things that were not very good. You know what? Now I'm going to fight back. Wow, I'm going to chant some extra rounds. I'm just going to sit down right here and read a whole chapter of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. What do you think about that, Maya? You fight back. I'm going to eat some incredible prasadam because that's the easy way to fight back. We all like that part. Otherwise, the struggle for existence must be there. If you're going to struggle anyway in Rajaguna, we might as well struggle to be Krishna conscious. If you're going to fight against the material nature with unlimited longing and desire, you might as well fight to be better. The struggle must be there until we at least come to the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, there isn't so much struggle. Krishna says, Tatram Sattvam Nimalatvat Prakashanam Anamayam Sukha Sangena Padnati Jnana Sangena Janaka. The mode of goodness, it's enlightening, it's purifying. And one situated in that mode is conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. At the very least, if we want to stop struggling, we must cultivate the mode of goodness. That means setting a boundary with the mind. My dear mind, it is inappropriate for you to talk to me like this, to coerce me into anger, or to coerce me into desire. Mind, that is not nice. I often ask people when we're talking with these students at university, that if your mind were a person personified, sitting right next to you, talking to you the way that it does, would you like that person? Do you think that person would be a friend of yours? Imagine my mind sitting in the chair next to me saying, shut up, Yasodadeva. You're not very clever. Nobody's even listening to you. You're not very good at Bhagavatam class. You should just go do something else. Just become a Buddhist. Give up. You'd say, hey man, would you shut up? That's not very nice. Or if your mind was saying to you, wow, you're so amazing. You're just incredible. Everybody should just listen to you talk. You can solve all the world's problems. The only problem in the world is that nobody's listening to you enough. If someone were talking to you like that, you'd think this person is a real pain in the butt. You probably wouldn't want to be their friend. You would set a boundary. Say, hey, Don't talk to me like that. That's not nice. So we must do the same thing with our mind to resist the influence of the mode of passion, ignorance, and at least come to the mode of sattva guna. Otherwise, this body, all of its senses, just give us constant struggle and exertion. That's what Prabhupada says in the purport. The struggle for existence is an exertion of the mode of passion. My dear Prabhus, I'm so tired of struggling with the mode of passion. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. And let me tell you who else is tired of it. Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is tired of it. Of course, I don't think Rupa Goswami actually struggled with the mode of passion, but to instruct us, he implied something like that. And he recited one very sweet verse that I'd like to share with you about flipping the script of the mode of passion. He says, and I quote, Kamadinam katina katita palita dhuni deshas, tesham jatamai nakaruna natrapa nopashanti, utrijaitamata yarupate sampratam labda buddhis tam ayata sharanam mabhayam mam nyungshva adasye. Just hear this translation and how it's in contrast to this verse we're hearing from Lord Brahma in Bhagavatam. Rupa Goswami, he's praying, saying that for so long, I have served my master in the form of lust, anger, envy, greed, madness, and illusion. Kama adi. Adi in Sanskrit means like, etc. Headed by kama. First thing is the desire. The other things are the lust, the anger, the envy, the greed, the madness. He says, for so long, I've served these masters. I've served them. When they dictated to me, they said, get that thing. I did it. When they said, be angry now, I just did it. Every single time. I've served these masters so humbly and so faithfully. And yet they have not given me anything in return. Kamadinam katina katita palita dhurni deshas. Tesham jata namari nakaruna. They've not shown me any compassion. No mercy. I've gotten no mercy from my masters in the form of lust, anger, envy, greed, madness, and illusion. Imagine serving someone for years, decades, lifetimes, and they give you no mercy. It's horrible. It's horrible. It says, for so long I've served them, they've not shown me any mercy. But he said, now my intelligence is waking up. Tesham jatamayina karunanatrapanopashad utsrijaitamata yaruprate sampratam labda buddhis. Now my intelligence is finally awakened. I realized they're just not worth it. It's not worth it to serve these masters in the form of lust, anger, envy. Now my intelligence is awakened and I've decided to serve your lotus feet, my dear Lord, O Yadupati, O Lord of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna. Because that is the only place that's fearless. Tam ayata sharanam abhayam. Abhayam, that's the real fearless shelter. Mam niyungshvat madasye. He says, please accept me as your servant in this way. Dear devotees, we should all play to Krishna like this. We recognize I'm struggling with my senses. The sense objects, I still have so much desire. Even though I've been chanting Hare Krishna, I'm trying my best to associate with the devotees, I'm reading Srimad Bhagavatam, but still, my Lord, I struggle with desire. Well, even Rupa Goswami is saying like this. But my intelligence is awakening, and I'm begging you, Lord, please, let me have the shelter of your fearless lotus feet. Because serving these masters in the form of lust has not shown me any mercy. So at some point, we have to take a stand. We have to take a stand and fight back and say, I'm not going to allow motive passion and ignorance to push me around, to coerce me, to manipulate me, just like I wouldn't let any person of this world do that to me. I would not allow any person to coerce me, to manipulate me, to abuse me. So stop allowing the mind influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance to do that. And say, no, my dear mind, That is not appropriate. When you tell me to act out of anger or enviousness or illusion, it's not appropriate. Don't talk to me like that. We make a mind a friend by setting those boundaries. That way we set up a barrier against the influences of the mode of passion and ignorance, especially. Just like you protect your home, you got to protect your consciousness. The mind should be the barrier against those things. How do we build that barrier? Brick by brick, mantra by mantra, sangha by sangha. We make that barrier strong so that passion and ignorance cannot get in. And if it should fall, if the wall that we've built defending our bhakti lata bija should fall, then just like Rupa Goswami, we just try again. He says, please, Lord, accept me. I've served passion and ignorance, but I'm going to try again. And that's okay. Eventually, by the grace of Krishna, by the grace of the devotees, we can get to the point where we're no longer struggling with the body, the mind, the materialistic intelligence. It really is possible. And it's worth the effort. Because if we're going to struggle, we might as well struggle to become the best that we can possibly be. A devotee of Lord Krishna, a servant of all people, all the Vaishnavas, one who's an inspiration to others, not an enemy, not an obstacle. We might as well struggle for that, because otherwise just struggling for existence, just struggling to get something in our ears and into our mouth and into our eyes. Rupa Goswami says, you'll get no mercy for this. If we struggle to become a devotee of Krishna, we will get so much mercy. It's been proven time and time again. So dear devotees, let us embrace the struggle. Start struggling against the mode of passion. Resist its influence by sadhana bhakti, by satsanga, by Krishna katha, and by sankirtan seva. Sometimes we think, and this will be my final point here, sometimes we think that our struggles are very, very bad. And we can feel overwhelmed, that it's so hard for me. I've got so many problems that I'm dealing with, interpersonal problems, financial problems, institutional problems, occupational problems. But you know, dear devotees, if we make a little effort to try to share Krishna consciousness with others, most of the time we realize we don't have such problems. The way that some people struggle these days is we can hardly even remember it. Those of us who have been practicing Krishna consciousness for some time, we can hardly even remember the sort of struggle that most people go through these days. The levels of depression and anxiety and frustration are just off the charts, especially amongst young people. We see it all the time here at State College, Pennsylvania, because our outreach is mostly focused towards young university students, 18, 19, 20 years old. You can't even imagine what sort of anxiety these people go through. Even though superficially they're in an affluent place, but they see their opportunities closing, the doors of the opportunities closing. They see interpersonal conflict, societal conflict increasing. They see a bleak future. His Holiness Devamrita Swami was here. He called Generation Z, what did he call them? Generation Dread. The dread of climate catastrophe, the dread of more conflict in the form of war, both civil and international. Just so many things to dread for young people these days. Well, for all people. There's so many things that we miss out on because we're devotees. We have a sense of purpose. We have a sense of identity, which is non-material. We have community. We have love of God in our heart. Even though it may be young and immature, it's there. We have so much to be grateful for. But some people who have not come in contact with Krishna or the Lord's representative, they literally have nothing. Some of them, they don't even have friends. Like they never talk to another person. You might be shocked to hear this, dear Prabhus. But some people, they never even talk to another person face to face. It's called parasocial, where almost all of their interactions are online. Maybe chatting with someone or or in different sorts of social medias or something, but they never actually talk to the person face to face. That's becoming more common. It's becoming more common. And this is something that devotees, we never have to struggle with this sort of thing. You can always go and associate with Vaishnavas relatively easily. We have our conflicts sometimes, but it's nothing like what other people struggle with. Their sense of self is so fractured. Their sense of purpose is non-existent. Their hopes for the future is so bleak. But dear devotees, we have so much, and so we should share it. We should share it, and it's for our benefit and for their benefit. When we share, not only do people benefit from coming in contact with Krishna's name, but also we benefit because we realize that actually Krishna consciousness has worked to solve so many of our problems in life, that the struggle against the mode of passion is effective. And therefore I should continue and finally be free from all kinds of material struggle, finally be free from the bodily concept of life. Preaching Krishna consciousness to others can fill us with that conviction. You get to see it right in front of your face, the effectiveness of bhakti, the contrast between our consciousness and the consciousness of people who do not have Krishna. That should fill you with faith that the process works, that we can get over the influence of the mode of passion, ignorance. We can rise above it, and at least come to the mode of sattva guna to stop suffering, but even further, to go to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna and engage in their service. Otherwise, as is described by Prabhupada here, struggle for existence is an exertion of the mode of passion. Dear devotees, I just hope to share with you, I hope to inspire you with a little more motivation to continue to fight the good fight. Let's not let passion and ignorance to influence us, to corrode us, and to rob us of our potential as a devotee of Krishna. Let's resist actively, setting boundaries in the mind to make it a friend. Like any relationship has its boundaries. Practice the sadhana bhakti as given to us by Srila Prabhupada, and we can be confident that the transformation is entirely possible. And if we're sharing Krishna consciousness with others, then that distinction should be very, very clear. So if you're having a little lack of faith, if you're feeling a little bit jaded, a little bit exhausted, like it's not working, and I beg you, please spend a little time doing some outreach, some sankirtan. And then you'll remember just how effective is hearing and chanting about Krishna in the association of the devotees. Otherwise, sometimes we can forget a little bit. Hare Krishna. So I hope I've made a relevant point to everyone. Of course, I'm mostly preaching to myself here because I'm trying my best, dear devotees. I'm trying my best, inspired by Sahadev Prabhu's grace, and I can have a little service today. So thank you, Prabhu. I'll finish with that commentary on this verse and purport, but I'd love to hear more from so many great devotees who are here in this room, many of whom I know, many whom I don't know. We'd love to hear some of your thoughts, or if you disagree with me, I'm open to be corrected and educated. So please feel free to share if you like. Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Yasodadev Prabhu, for such a wonderful discussion. Yes, thank you. It's very interesting the way and the manner you presented the text. And you very much reminded me of my Gurudev, because my Gurudev, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, always told us that we all know the mind is very, very difficult to control. So he told us we should always consider the mind as another living entity standing behind us or standing next to us, talking to us, just like you said. If I have somebody standing in front of me telling me, why are you allowing yourself to be cheated by this Indian cult? And what do you mean by that? But the mind tells us things like this, and we just act upon them. Now, my question and where I'm seeking help from you is that I try to do that, and I believe lots of the time devotees try to do that, that when the mind tells us to do something crazy, we sit back, we ponder over it, and then we question back the mind. Why are you asking me to embark on this crazy move? But sometimes this mind is so sneaky up to the point that the mind will ask us to do something without we even recognizing that it's somebody else asking us to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do it. After we do it, then we remember, oh man, why didn't I pause for a while to understand that this person was telling me something false, or my mind was telling me something crazy? So my question is, how do we all the time pay attention to understand that this is the mind talking to me, asking me to do this, asking me to do that, and I have to sit back to decide whether I will have to do it or not to do it? We try to do that sometimes, but other times we get caught off guard and we fall prey, we become victims. So if you have any idea or like strategy how to deal with this crazy mind. Of course, my mind is crazy. I know he's an enemy, he's not my friend. So whenever he's talking to me, I pay close attention. I say, I know you are not my friend.
Mm-hmm. I do have one perspective I'd like to share, relevant, because I just heard someone talking about the war in Ukraine, and they were saying that every war, it's ended with a negotiation. And it would be better if we could just have that negotiation before millions of people die. But every war, it ends with some negotiation. People sit down and they talk it out and they make a new deal, right? So similarly, I think in our fight against our mind, there's a negotiation that's going on. And that negotiation, the contract of that negotiation is through the Prabhupada's books. When you're reading Prabhupada's books, the mind accepts, because Prabhupada's intelligence is so up there. Your mind accepts it. Yes. We start to see clearly. Yes, my mind has been acting like an enemy. But then we're reading, and the mind accepts the terms. Oh, I'm meant to serve. I am meant to hear and to chant. I'm not meant to chase after unlimited desire and longing. I find that especially when we read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita and the purports there, pacifies the mind so much, makes it a friend. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, intelligence is superior to the mind. But if we're not using our intelligence to hear from the acharyas, to hear from Gurudeva, to hear from Srila Prabhupada, then the mind becomes stronger. It's like you got to exercise. To keep your muscles strong, we have to exercise our intelligence by always hearing Srila Prabhupada's books. And then the war can end. That's been my first-hand experience. When my mind is especially problematic, when my mind is especially inimical, if I take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, it really just submits to that strong negotiation. Just like at the end of a war, if somebody is shown superior firepower, they have strong negotiation. They can demand anything. So Srila Prabhupada, because he's already won the war, he can negotiate with the mind very strongly. So apparently Prabhupada said, if we don't have intelligence, you have to borrow it from someone else. So we tried to borrow Srila Prabhupada's intelligence and read his books. I find that that's the most effective thing. We have to beat the mind with our intelligence, you know? And if we don't have the intelligence, we borrow from Srila Prabhupada. What do you think, Prabhu? What about you? How do you make the mind a friend when it's especially problematic?
It's very interesting. You answered my next question without asking, because I was going to ask, all along, I used to think that the driver of this body is the soul. And then one time we had a class on this same forum, and my senior godbrother, His Grace Srivasvanachak, sorry, Varaha, Srimad Varaha Prabhu, corrected me that no, actually the driver of this body is intelligence. So the intelligence is what we need to use to check the mind. Now, if the intelligence is also lazy and lackadaisical, and it really doesn't want to do anything to improve the entire elements making up this body, then how do we get helped? But you're saying that, well, if our intelligence is failing us, then we should borrow someone else's intelligence. So borrowing or taking Srila Prabhupada's supreme intelligence is going to save us. And thank you so much. I'm just hoping that this intelligence I have in this skull will allow me to accept its frailties, that, okay, you are weak. So cry up to someone who is stronger. So take up Srila Prabhupada's intelligence and use that to your own benefit. So I'm just praying that my intelligence will allow me to do that, because this intelligence sometimes makes me feel that what I have is better than anyone else's. So I'm just praying. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sahadev Prabhu, for being so open and admitting what we all struggle with.
Yeah.
All of us. So thank you for sharing.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, we have a hand up from Bhakta Hassan.
Hassan,
Prabhu.
yeah.
Haribol Prabhu.
Yes, you may go ahead, Bhakta Hassan.
We can't hear you, Prabhu.
Yeah, we can hear you. Let me see, is this mic open?
I don't
Yeah,
think he's muted.
your mic is open, but we can't hear you.
Try getting angry. That will help. I'm sorry, Prabhu. We still can't hear you. I'm not sure what's wrong.
Yeah, maybe what you might have to do is, if everything possible, you may log out and then re-log in. That usually fixes the problem. So we may go to somebody else before you come back. Anyone else with something to ask or share, please? Well, Prabhuji, there is one.
We would love to hear from Sriman Varaha Acharya Prabhu if he's willing, if he's not busy.
Yeah, okay. Sriman Varaha Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol Prabhu. Nice to hear you again.
All glories to Prabhupada.
Jai.
All glories to all the assembled devotees. Thank you very much. I'm driving and I'm trying to digest everything you have said so wonderfully. You've shared so much that I'm ruminating on them while driving. So before we close, I may come back.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, Prabhu. Thank you for gracing us. Hare Krishna.
So before you come back, go to.
Sorry. I get back later.
All right, okay. We'll go to His Grace Chaitanya Prema Prabhu, please. His name is Chaitanya Prema Prabhu. He's not Technospark.
That's my technological name.
That is a penny name to blindfold people, but we know his name.
Forgive me, Prabhu. Forgive me. That's my technological name.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, thank you very much for giving us this wonderful, submission, and in a very simple, practical And it's not some theoretical something. You're giving it from your heart. That is how I really feel it. So I felt the connection, and that is wonderful. We should keep it up. Having said that, I would like to just add something little that, in addition to what was said, we can also consciously practice. We should practice attentiveness to whatever we are doing, in whatever we are doing, our chanting, our hearing, our relationships, our interactions, our reactions to, anything at all. We should practice attentiveness. Before we say anything, we should pause first, wait. We should become attentive. That actually Maya is also dictating, my mind is dictating. Is it actually what it is? Before we react, if we practice a little more attentiveness, and even when we are taking prasadam, we are conscious that this is prasad we are taking. We should not be talking while taking prasadam. If we are doing kirtan, we know that we are in kirtan. We are in the presence of the Supreme Lord. And that, if we accept that this is the Supreme Lord and we are in kirtan, we should know how to conduct ourselves accordingly. Just more than even how we conduct ourselves when the Guru is physically present and we are doing kirtan in his presence. So we should just practice a little more attentiveness, in addition to what we have already. Then we take shelter of the scripture like this, borrowing intelligence from Srila Prabhupada, and also using the devotees, all other devotees we contact with as mirror. If we see anything that, this is a reflection of what I have to work on myself. If I see any fault in any situation, that means that is a fault inside me that I really need to work on, that is being reflected in this person. If we practice a little bit more of attentiveness, in addition to borrowing intelligence from Prabhupada, then we gradually, by constant practice and by detachment, we gradually move forward, make the mind our friends, and evolve. When we finish eating, we must wash our plate before we know that our eating process is complete. That kind of attentiveness. You don't eat and pile up the place and later come and, there are flies and you start killing other living entities. But when you finish eating, if we consider that our eating is not complete until we wash the plate, just a little bit more attentiveness, in addition to borrowing intelligence from Prabhupada, then we gradually evolve. That evolution we must do. We must evolve from where we are. And both in vision, that will translate into our actions, and everything added together will gradually evolve.
Yes.
Desirable level. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. You're so right. I'm especially guilty of being inattentive while taking prasadam, like many young people doing something on the phone or whatever, instead of actually thinking, how did Krishna enjoy this prasadam? That's what we should think. Did Krishna enjoy this prasadam? How would he enjoy it? How does he eat with his friends? Absolutely right. Such simple things like that, but we take them for granted. Thank you, Prabhu, for the reminder. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your humility, Baba. Thanks.
I wonder if Bhakta Hassan has returned or no.
He is not here yet.
Okay.
But
I can come. Can I come in?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak, Prabhu. Like I said, you said so many things, and I'm actually ruminating on them very seriously. And I wasn't going to speak because there's a lot of food for thought you have given, like our God brother Chindan Brahma said. So you are speaking from your heart, and that is very touching. So there are two things I like to speak on. One is the problem that posed by the mind and the intelligence, and the analysis you also made about was that? Okay, maybe I'll remember that again. I'm driving.
Borrowing Sri Prabhupada's intelligence?
No, there's an analogy made, but I'll come back to that. Let's go back on the mind and intelligence first. So the problem, like the modes of nature envelope or influence our thinking through the mind and through the intelligence. The problem is we identify not just only with the body. I mean, identification with the body maybe can easily be, maybe we can get over that. Maybe not so easily, but it's more difficult to get rid of the identification with the mind and intelligence. That is a big problem. So now I remember when you were saying something like the way people live their life, and they hardly talk to anyone, and they just all the time on social media, on phone, everything, and hardly interact with people. So that, of course, you rightly put it, it makes it difficult to be able to assess your own thinking, because you depend more on your mind in that way. But when you interact with people and you listen to class, and then it helps you to, to adjust the way of your thinking, to adjust your intelligence. So interaction helps a lot, and hearing helps a lot. Yeah, then, so thank you for that. But I'm still coming back to the point of identifying with the mind, especially making reference to Sahadev Prabhu's question. When we identify with the mind, we cannot see that the mind is dictating something to us, because we think it is coming from us. We do not see that the mind is different. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
Yeah, hold on for a minute.
Oh, okay, that's great.
We can hear you. Hold on.
Yeah, so the technology we actually need, Prabhupada has given us so much on how to stop identifying with the body, like the ABC. Are you your leg? Are you your hand? Are you your body? I am not. It's my body, my leg, my. So that kind of simple technology makes many people to think, oh yeah, actually I'm not my body, And when somebody is dead, we say it's gone. So, but the body is lying down there. So, these simple things help many people to come to the point that, yes, actually, I'm not this body. But then, I'm sorry, I'm driving on a road, so my earphone is
I
disconnected.
think you lost your earpiece.
Yeah, it's back now.
Okay.
Yeah, so the technology, if you can give us some technology, to know how not to identify with the mind. It's very, very difficult because it's subtle. Not to identify with the mind. One point I can share, and then I will listen. I will want to hear from you more about how not to identify with the mind and the intelligence, because this is a heavy, heavy duty trouble. I used to remember, try to remember the function of the mind. That the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. So when I'm getting some thoughts, I try to detach myself from that thought, because I know this is the mind working. The mind, this is its function. It thinking, feeling, and willing. So it's not me. So I have to sit back and try to analyze that thought. That way, my intelligence comes into play a little bit to help me analyze. The moment I realize the thought is not my doing, it is my mind, it is its duty, and it's doing its function. Now I have to, assess it and see. So that helps me a lot. But maybe there are better ways of doing it. Not only identifying with the mind and the intelligence also, because the intelligence can be very tricky. It's also super. I mean, it's higher, it's superior to the mind, and then it's much easier to even identify with intelligence also. So this is the area we really need help. Every one of us to actually not to continue to identify with the mind and the intelligence. So if you can give us some more technology on that, I will be very grateful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
I've got a really good tip, Prabhu, something I practice all the time. when something happens that's going to agitate our mind or our senses, before you react, you chant one Mahamantra. And that's just enough time for us to remember, I'm not my mind, I'm not my body, I don't need to be forced into this thing. I mean that seriously, like maybe some person walks into your space that you usually have some conflict with. First thing you do is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. And just in the 2 seconds that takes can save us so many problems, because we tend to react so spontaneously, so quickly to something that's really agitating. If we take just even a moment to chant Krishna's name once, even that can be enough time for our intelligence to kick into high gear and to save us. So when you say what technology, the only technology I know about is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I think it's very powerful. And you know, when Lord Chaitanya says Kirtaniya Sada Hari, Sada means always. We really should do it always, especially in those situations that can be challenging to us. Like, you know, maybe a relationship which is difficult, or some sort of attachment or aversion that's hard for us, or some stress that we have. We take a moment to chant right then and there. You know, I always feel like Krishna is my friend. Krishna's helping me. And so I need to share, I need to be with Krishna even in those difficult times, not just the sweet times when I'm singing and dancing in the temple and I got a big smile on my face and everyone thinks, wow, Yasodadeva's such a happy devotee. As soon as I leave the temple, I have so much stress. But I should be with Krishna at that time too. So I think that's the technology. It's like, you know, if you're in trouble, you call someone, maybe you call your mother or a friend. We can call Krishna. As soon as there's some challenge to us, we call and say, oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. And then react. I've been trying to do that, and I think it works. So that's the only tip I have. I don't have very clever ideas. I just know the basics. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Should we? Oh, you're also muted, Sadhu.
Hare Krishna, yeah. Personally,
I wanted to say, sorry. I wanted to say in that case,
the ghost of network receptivity has arrested your space.
Mitravinda, dear friend, we
cannot
can't hear you.
Cheerleading session, but also that, you know, everybody's rounds would be finished in this troubled world. Everybody's rounds would be finished on time and in multiples. Can you hear me now?
Can
you hear me now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Hello? Far better. Yeah, better. Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to say in response to Yasho Prabhu's class and comment that first of all, thank you for the wonderful cheerleading session. It's very inspiring. I wanted to say also that in this age of Kali Yuga of troubles and quarrels, that if we hear you correctly, then all of our rounds will be done on time and in multiples. Each time, if we chant every time, there's, you know, something that we want to rise above, you know, which is actually why we have this medicine for this yuga. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, dear Mitravinda, old friend. So nice to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I never got a chance to thank you so much for your assistance with the Rath Yatra Festival at Gitanagari.
Oh yeah, that was really super.
The crowds with the power of Lord Indra's thunderbolt. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Perfect for the job.
Yeah. So we go to His Grace, Bhakta Hassan, please. You may go ahead and speak. And
yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak.
Yeah.
I'm on this platform, my all student platform, and sometimes ago there's these two videos which I watch, and one of them is a man who find out that his son, I think there's a boy, I don't know, his neighbor or his caretaker, and this boy was abusing his child sexually. When the man find out, he beat this boy, and this boy became paralyzed, and he was admitted in the hospital. And there was comments, people were making comments, he should have patience, and people are saying it's good he did what he did was right, and so on. So, and there's another video, there's this man, somebody killed his son, and he went to the court and he said that you have killed my son, but I have forgiven you. I have forgiven you. So, as a devotee, to be in this situation that you find out that somebody is abusing your son sexually, at that moment, how can you control your mind without reacting? How do you take this? This is my question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, first of all, Prabhu, I hope that none of us have to face situations like this. Kali Yuga is a crazy time, and abuse is the norm, actually. Conflict, quarrel, misunderstanding is the norm. Abuse is a natural result of that. But I hope that at least for our part, we can be protected from that, by being in the association of devotees, by having strong community support. Usually the people who are abused the most are those who are isolated. They don't have other social connections. They don't have other people looking after them. Fortunately for us devotees, despite whatever problems we may have in our communities, at least we can support each other and try to prevent that from happening. But yes, I was just thinking about this the other day. If someone had harmed my children or murdered my children, would I forgive someone? I can't imagine that I would. It would be so hard. And yet somehow we see that people do, and they almost always attribute that power to their love of God. I don't think it's humanly possible, but even in such difficult situations as that, somehow people can rise above it, not be dragged down by Rajagun and Tamagun. Somehow still they can become better people. And I think that's just the special mercy of the Lord. Like in the Bible, we hear so many stories about that in the Christian Bible, about Job, others who are persecuted and abused, but somehow their love grows even stronger. I think that's the special mercy of the Lord. But I hope that none of us will have to be tested in that way, Krishna willing. But it is possible, and I think it's only possible by the grace of God.
Yes, that is why I'm thinking that we have to pray to Krishna not to put us in this kind of situation, because I was just imagining, because I was watching the video and I was so angry that if it happens to me, I don't know what I'm going to do at that particular moment before I think, because if you did something like that, maybe you go to jail and you spend the rest of your life in jail. So we have to pray that Krishna did not put us in that situation. Anyway, thank you so much.
It's an important reminder for us to all look after the vulnerable people in our communities. I'm also part of the child protection team here. That means always recognizing when someone is vulnerable and giving them extra protection to avoid that. We should all try our best.
Thank you so much for this wonderful class. And
thank you for participating.
In Gita Nagre, I think I saw you in the kitchen, and we are speaking with His Grace Sadef Prabhu. Yes, and he came and speak with you, and later he said that, oh, this Prabhu is a very good preacher, and I have noticed that today. So thank you so much for this wonderful class.
Thanks for the encouragement.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan, for that wonderful question.
I do have to get going in just a minute, but I do also really want to hear what Hari Chakra Prabhu will say.
Hari
we always
Chakra
appreciate
will be the last person.
Are you there, Hari Chakra Prabhu?
Please unmute.
Yep, the first one. Yep. Yeah, Hare Krishna, give me I'm just coming up. All right.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah. You're welcome.
See, it is
Yeah,
said.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Yasodev. As always, that you hit the nail on the head.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it what I'm going to say? Is it even a question or a comment? I don't even know. What I'm saying is, we usually hear that we don't have to identify with our body. We don't have to identify with our mind. We don't have to identify with our intelligence and all that. But practically speaking, there is something that happens every day that we identify with. It's not even our body, our mind, or our intelligence, but even physical things around us. Example, if you go out and you buy a car and somebody starts speaking something bad about the car, then somehow or the other you begin to, as if the person is attacking you in person. Meanwhile, you are not the manufacturer of the car. You don't even know how the car came into being. And yet you identify with it so much so that you begin to feel offended because somebody is saying some ill thing about it. Not that alone. Sometimes you buy a shirt or some dress that you are wearing. Somebody say something bad about that dress, and you are thinking the person is attacking you in person. So my question is, what is that principle that makes us feel that way? Is it what is it? Ego? Is it what? What is the principle behind that makes us feel that way? And I'm thinking it's the same principle that makes us think that we are this body, the same principle that makes us think that we are this mind. So if I say something and somebody criticizes what I'm saying, not agreeing with me, then I'm thinking, well, who do you think you are? Are you getting the point? So what is that? I want to know the principle behind. What principle is there that pushes us to try to identify with even the physical things around us?
Yes. Well, I think you know, as everybody knows, it's because we actually long to love Krishna, but we've taken this material nature as a substitute. And because we're not feeling satisfied in our love, therefore there's this insecurity. If someone attacks the things that we have, criticizes your car or your clothes or your appearance, we feel some pain because that's not the suitable object to love. If we're filled in love, then how can anyone bring us down, you know? If you're filled in love, how can you feel some distraught, some pain because of what somebody else might say? I think if we're full in love of God, love of Krishna, then no one can bring you down by insulting your appearance or your possessions or your lifestyle or anything, really. But because we're trying to love material energy, material objects, that insecurity must be there. So if somebody criticizes it, we feel it. I don't know. I don't have much more to say than that, except that we all want to love Krishna, but we're using this material energy as a poor substitute, and it's just not good enough. We know it, and that's why when somebody says it, it affects us. We know that this car isn't good enough to replace Krishna. My clothes aren't good enough to replace Krishna. That's why when somebody insults them, it's like we kind of agree. That's why we're hurt by it. We agree with them. Oh, it's not very good. There's no substitute for loving Krishna and putting our whole heart in Krishna. Don't you think, Hari Chakra Prabhu? Do you agree with me?
Now, since you are the Vyasadev now, I just want answers from you.
Well, I'm only the Vyasadeva for about 30 more seconds because my wife is waiting for me.
Well, thank you so much, Vyasa.
Haribo, Mother Yashoda.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
thank you. Thank you so much for the class. And
Yeah.
also thank you for what you do for these students and how you connect with them.
Yeah.
I know your Guru Maharaj is happy for your service. So thank you also for that and the class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Yashoda Mataji. Your support means a lot to me.
You
You
see,
really are.
but
one of my-
the Asheda is okay, I will leave it as it is, but because Yasodeva is speaking. And Yashoda and Yashoda, brother, sister. So now she is talking.
Yes. For those who don't know, Yasodadeva is the name of Yashoda Mai's brother in Vrindavan.
Yes. Well,
That's
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the sister backing her brother. So at this point, we are going to be asked to unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our utmost appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Yashodadeva Prabhu. Jai
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakapatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha patanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo.
Namo Namaha.
Yashodadeva Prabhu ki Vaishnava devotees ki jai.
So nice to be with the ISKCON Africa Sangha. Thank you so much, devotees. So nice to be with all of you.